Last week, we did a podcast about a school where none of the pupils used English as the first language.
Mm.
And it seems like other schools are in a similar situation, albeit not in the UK.
Mm.
What's that song from Ultravox? Oh,
Oh, Vienna.
there you are.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Austrian capital of Vienna. There's a kindergarten that has all but three not being able to speak fluent German. And at playtime or break, the vast majority of pupils revert to the mother tongue when they speak with each other.
Yeah.
And the mother tongue, of course, is Arabic. Right? This, according to the Austrian news outlet Heute. Heute in English means today.
Yeah.
Bernard Kay, his name that was given, says that to communicate with his classmates, his grandson is learning Arabic. There you are.
Yeah, well, it's a second language.
I mean, this is at kindergarten.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the under fives is already.
It's a good age to start teaching and learning another language, to be all honesty. Yeah.
Well, you know, will Arabic become the fourth Northern European language? I ask myself. Because most Northern Europeans already speak German, French, and English.
Yeah.
And could it be that Arabic will squeeze Spanish into the fifth place? It'll push Spanish into.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Apparently, one in five children in Austria do not have an Austrian passport. This is not to say that one in five children are not Austrian.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just means to say that they don't have a passport. And I don't know if it's law that a child should have a passport or not. I don't think so. I think they're quite similar to what they are here in Brazil. Okay, where you can travel with a parent's passport.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about passport, yeah, it's just a travel document. It's not always an indication. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah.
There is a native population depression, which over recent years has been reduced from 1.6 million to 1.2 million of under 18s, because simply the adults are not reproducing. Native adults are not reproducing as much. And this is changing the cultural fabric of the school system. As more foreigners are coming in and less Austrians are being born, right? Then the foreigner Austrian ratio is changing.
Yes.
Right. And open speech quotation marks. This is no longer immigration. This is displacement, claimed of the youth wing of the Populist Party, FPO, which is the Freedom Party of Austria.
Yeah.
Maximilian Weinieri. 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 We've been warning about this for over 10 years, and we were called scaremongers, but now we have been totally overrun with immigrants. This is now our reality, said the same guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, the situation in the kindergarten is probably widespread. Professor Bernard Kopf said that new immigrants tend to go to places where their fellow countrymen are.
Yeah.
And it puts a mockery on the word integration. Right? Yeah. Because if they're just joining into we've been on this with Whitechapel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So it's extension on that.
Basically, it's the same thing that's happening in Vienna, in the capital of Austria.
Yeah.
Right. This way, instead of diversity, we get hegemony of cultures, and slowly the Austrian culture will be lost. Which is basically my fear about.
Yeah.
In the other podcast, I was on about the lack of Cockney rhyming slang, pearly kings and queens, all the traditions.
Yeah.
You know, Austria also has its problems apparently.
Mm,
It could be said that Austria could still work its way out of this dilemma, but of course that will be up to the politicians.
mm,
So personally, I'm not holding my breath for Austria. You know, and my canary in the coal mine, of course, is our
mm.
friend Survival Lily.
Yeah. Okay.
She's
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
She's
she's always a good source of information. Uh, so it's just to show that it isn't only in the UK,
mm, yeah.
it's also in Austria, which is this story that I found. Germany is closing its borders
Mm,
to non-Europeans. Belgium is doing the same thing.
mm,
Austria, I think, has already done the same thing.
yeah.
Poland is doing the same thing.
Mm,
So, it isn't just a British problem.
mm,
It's European wide. I mean, if you go to France and see the tent cities in France, in northern
yeah.
France,
Yeah.
um, you know, if you go to Nanterre in Paris,
Mm,
there's swathes of neighborhoods that are non-French,
yeah.
where even the police can't go. Go to Stockholm, same thing.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, where do all these people come from? Where are they all from?
Yeah.
Because Northern Africa must be barren.
Well, it's. I
But
mean,
I'll let you have your say on this because,
do I have an opinion? I mean, okay, I'm gonna write a caveat. I mean, there's always been immigration at some level in across human things. I mean, yeah,
always been controlled.
yeah. Well, yeah, it is a um, and I won't. It is good. It's useful sometimes. It mixed up the gene pool a bit, so we're not all marrying our second cousins and things like this. Yeah, we're not getting
Well, the
six toes.
immigrants are.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to get onto that in a minute.
First
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. You jumped on me a bit there, but yes, but it's a
In the case of, in the case of Ilhan Oman, or
yeah,
what her name is in the US, she
yeah,
married her brother.
yeah. I know. Well, this is yeah. Okay. Let we talk about cultural references here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's a is it healthy? Okay. Um, says me. I mean, I'm living in a foreign country. I am all but an immigrant. I married a local person or somebody through a bit. I met her in London, and then we've ended up back here. Not not because of anything that went wrong, but well, a few things went wrong, but we decided to try something different. Yeah. Um, when we're talking about, like I say, um, integration, well, people have got to want to integrate, and that's a two way thing. Yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, I'm equally opposed to always been opposed to English people moving to Spain and forming their own English communities in Spain. And I can quite understand Spanish people being angry, just as I would be in England, where it's happened there. Yeah. Um,
I
it's
think
intimidating. It shouldn't be that way.
I think uh, you're right in so much as we are here in Brazil. Yeah, so I mean, you and I, we're immigrants here in
mm,
in Brazil, uh, but the difference is that I'd never impose my culture on on here in Brazil.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you can't integrate
Yeah.
fully, then what you do is you isolate,
Mm,
but not to impose.
yes.
So, for example, I could be like a hermit
Mm,
here, in, which is probably very much like my lifestyle is
yeah.
right here in Brazil.
Yeah.
But I'm not certainly not going to impose trying to overtake over councils or insist that everybody becomes like me.
Yeah.
You know, uh, and I feel that when you get to a stage like it is in London and
Mm,
also now in Austria
yeah.
and other countries, that there's a danger of that of that of exactly that happening. That foreign cultures are going to overtake the culture that's already there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because my job is obviously, and yours part to a point, is working with English. Yeah, instructing or helping Brazilians with the English language. Um, and part of that is also, yeah, Brazilians are interested in the culture as we see it. Okay. Yeah, okay. We say the British culture is different from the American culture, is different from the Australian culture. Yeah. So yeah, one size doesn't fit all. Now it depends what the Brazilians want. Yeah, they like me because I've got a British culture, and a lot of them are fascinated. But it doesn't mean I don't do things about the American culture, which I know about, but I always do that as a caveat. My culture is very much understanding of American culture, apart from a couple of visits there. It's very much similar to yours with films and TV and other things. Yeah. Uh, now, yes. Now, what's happening in Europe is to say it's an invasion is probably a little bit extreme. It's been happened by osmosis over many years. Yeah. An invasion with me, they turn up on the beaches and, and they come with their guns or weapons or whatever else or however they do it. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
infiltration in that case.
yeah. But it's been allowed to happen or everything else. Now, when you were talking about birth rate, that's an interesting thing. Yesterday, the British government were talking about the the I'm going to say indigenous British population, whomever that may be, need to have more kids. Great statement, banner statement. Yeah. Well, it's the conditions to do that. Why aren't traditional people? I mean, people having kids. Um, okay, we've chosen to have kids with a children with a non-British person. Yeah. Well, but yeah, it's but yeah, in the UK, certainly there's been a decline in people having indigenous children. Yeah, whatever reason for that is. Now that is a twofold. And somebody made the point. Okay, some people choose not to have kids. Okay, it's better they don't have kids rather than have an unwanted child, and can lead to other things. The other thing is some people, and I've seen this, do want children. They're not in an economic situation to have kids. Yeah, which brings another question: how can people coming into the UK financially have children, be in a situation to have children? And um,
Because I'll put an answer to that. Because of living standards.
mm,
People who come into the UK, uh, their quality of life,
mm,
uh, their priorities
mm,
are a lot different. So,
yeah,
for example, we look here in Brazil,
mm,
right? The average house here in Brazil is quite small.
yes,
The popular houses,
yeah,
they're very small.
mm,
If you go into a bedroom of a
mm,
popular house,
mm,
I'm surprised they can fit the bed in,
yeah, yeah. That's
right?
very good.
In the
Yeah,
UK,
yeah,
it's very different.
mm,
Apparently, the British people are accustomed to having a really spacious house.
yes,
So if you've got a foreign influence of people moving into the UK, they can fit five in a bedroom,
mm,
no trouble,
yeah,
right? Whereas the British are going to say, well, we need one bedroom for Bruce and one bedroom for Nancy.
yeah,
And if we aren't in a three-bedroom house, then we can't have children.
mm,
You
yeah,
know, whereas like I said, the priorities are different.
yeah,
You know, so it's the old a car in the drive, but nothing in the fridge
yeah,
syndrome.
yeah.
Right?
Um,
Depends on where your priorities are.
yes, I mean, yeah, and which again, financial situation. Okay, I mean, we've had it probably very good in the UK for a long time. I'm not don't know when, probably 60s. Everyone was quite happy. You got the baby boom just before that. Um, yeah, and then you got other factors in. Probably came into the Western world the understanding of birth control. Um, I'm not going to be sexist here. Maybe women had more opportunities in the workplace, therefore delaying or choosing not to have children or not so many children. Yeah, I know it's a dangerous ground to go on, but yeah, let's do a sociology exercise, a possible. Yeah. Um, oh, again, one possibly the position is that both partners in the UK, both individuals, and I'm just going to say it, the man and the wife, or the husband and the wife in this case, both have to work. Yeah. How do you have childcare? And that's the financial situation. Um, there is not the
Once again, sorry, I went to the gym this morning,
yeah,
right, and I was chatting to a lady.
mm,
She was on the treadmill next to mine,
yes, yeah,
and I saw her earlier on, and she
yeah,
was really, really agitated. She was
yeah,
doing an exercise, dedicated, I would say, a bit too
yeah.
much dedicated.
Well, okay, yeah, yes,
And when she got onto the treadmill next to mine, she opened up.
mm,
She says, "I'm really tired." She said, "This is about 8 o'clock in the morning."
yeah,
She said, "I'm really tired."
yeah,
And I said, "Well," she says, I've come here to the gym and I'm really tired." I said, "Look, I'm still asleep." I said,
yeah,
I'm just waking up now."
yes,
She said that she looks after her grandchildren
yeah,
and her nephews and nieces,
mm,
and that is what the Brits are going to have to get used to.
yes,
Instead of looking for the government for health for childcare,
mm.
that's what grannies and aunties and uncles were made for.
Oh, well, yeah. When I first moved here, somebody told me that this family is a support. It's a
Yep,
support, if you like. Don't look to the government to support you of anything in Brazil. You'd be very disappointed very
that's
quickly.
right. That's right.
Um, it's and to a point, I think that's right. Um, my parents, they adore their grandchildren. Yeah, although one of their grandchildren is here, but they adore their grandchildren, probably at the expense of their own children, whom they don't always consider suitable
Of course.
candidates to be bringing up their grandchildren. Yeah, um, but but that's how it should be. Spoil the grandchildren. Yeah, if there's a problem, my parents would always step in and try and help if we had to go to work or do something. Um, we are, um, yes, this is it. Yeah, in Brazil, you see the family as a support group as well.
Yes.
But they,
But
my wife comes from a big family. Okay, families in Brazil have been getting smaller and smaller and smaller over the past 20 years, probably 30 years. Um, it is yeah, and again, yes, it's cultural. Years ago, it was different. The grandparents or the parents did look after the grandchildren. Yeah. Um, to the point it was that sometimes it would be a case if you try and stop the grandparents looking after the grandchildren, yeah, because they saw that as their role, yeah, and to a certain point, yeah, they didn't like the hippie ways that sometimes the grandchildren were being brought up and things like this, yeah,
the only negative point that
mm,
I can see of having lots of children, I
yeah,
think it was Nigel Farage that was wanted to give her something like £1,000
mm,
for or something,
yeah,
some monetary
yeah,
gain for parents to have an extra child or an extra.
yeah,
Well, the thing is, that if the illegal immigrants
mm,
are putting a strain on healthcare and
yeah,
education system, or this, if everybody decided to have an extra child, that would
mm,
be quite a population explosion in the UK.
yeah,
And what would happen in that case? Because
mm, mm.
having an extra child is not going to reduce illegal immigration.
No,
It isn't going to reduce um, legal immigration, even.
no,
You know, the country will become more exacerbated with people.
yeah,
You know, people,
yes,
and
you got to now stop, and I mean this now, and it's going to sound very harsh, and I'm not against immigration, as you know. I say not against immigration, but this is a big but, and I don't like doing this. You stop immigration now, all immigration, yeah, and because if the government are now pushing this agenda, hopefully about yeah, telling the British the indigenous British public, British people, they've got to have more children. Well, you make it so they can, and like you say, then you look to the future, and we all know that Well, the previous government didn't have a clue on how to do any forward thinking. They're very good at doing taglines, build back better and things like this. Yeah. All complete nonsense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you look at that. Well, okay, we'll make the conditions good for people to want to have, and it's wanting to have children. You turn on TikTok on the internet or a thing on the internet. Oh, my children! I've got three children, and it's too much to bear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, my mother loved both her children to the point, yes, it's almost suffocated. It's not been horrible, but yes, my mother looked forward to the holidays when she could have us under control, as it were. But it was a adored childhood. Yeah. Um, you see other we have seen in society, particularly in the West and in England, where if a mother wanted, if a young woman wanted more children, she was frowned upon, taken the mickey out of. Yeah. And this happens a lot on the internet. I mean, okay, I'll probably look at more things and I'll stop doing it so much. The whole cultural reference, oh, why does anyone want children? Well, to keep the population going was always a thing. And yeah, but when you're talking about people see as replacement, I mean, this is it. Government statistics, X amount of people. We talk about cultural references, which people who sit in ivory towers don't understand because they've got their cultural reference around them. The champagne lifestyle, which we don't have. I'm not
Oh, it's
suggesting
very,
everyone.
it's very isolated. When you get to a
Yeah, yeah,
certain level in wealth, then
mm,
your lifestyle is very much isolated from the common man.
yeah.
From
Um,
the, you don't hear, as they say, the word on the street,
no,
you know, or you
uh,
might hear it, but it's a long, long way away.
I mean, yes, they call certain politicians populists because they go out on the street and they talk to people and get milkshakes thrown at them and things like that. Yeah, which
But they're the ones, funnily enough, they're the ones that are frowned upon by the higher echelons of
establishment. Yeah,
politics.
yeah, and that's the point I'm making. They interact with people, and then if you say the wrong thing, you're called. I mean, yeah, something happened at this weekend at a we call it a music festival for want of a better term for it.
Glastonbury, call it Glastonbury if you like.
Yeah, Glastonbury, yeah, where there was a guy on stage and he said some heinous things, and he also said, "You want your country back? F off."